All right, the planets. We know, or most people accept, that there are 8 planets in our solar system. Some will argue that there are 9 for different reasons. Some people argue that Pluto is still a planet. Some people argue that because we've studied the motion of objects at the edge of our solar system, there should be a 9th planet out there that we just haven't discovered yet. It's kind of weird, you know, we're in the 21st century, and maybe we haven't discovered everything massive that orbits the sun, but there's a possibility of a planet 9. In this section, we're worried about the nighttime sky, so we're going to concentrate mainly on the visible planets, the naked eye planets that we can see, and those are Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Okay, so planets, as we discussed earlier, are in the plane of the solar system, so they stay on the ecliptic. They stay within the zodiac. Therefore, if you want to look for the planets in the nighttime sky, you want to look along the ecliptic. 2 of the planets, because they orbit inside our own orbit, never get very far from the sun. And those are Mercury and Venus. And in fact, Mercury is a planet that almost nobody has seen. Okay? You can go through your entire lifetime and look up the nighttime sky, and you probably missed Mercury unless you were really looking for it. Venus, however, is one of the more conspicuous planets. Right now, if you look up in the sky, Venus is obvious right after sunset. It's this real bright white star-like object that appears after sunset. Okay, so right now it's in the evening sky. The other stars, planets, the other planets, currently, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars are very close to the sun in the sky, in the morning sky, but we'll talk more about where they are. Now, in astronomy, looking at the planets, oftentimes we associate planets getting close together as being special events, or planets getting close to other objects like the sun or the moon as being a special event. We call these conjunctions. The objects don't necessarily get so close together that they appear to merge, but as long as one object's near another object, it is considered to be a conjunction. So notable conjunctions happen between the planets. It happens between the sun and the planets. It happens between the moon and the planets. Maybe the planets and a particular star. Okay. Right here we see one of the exceptional conjunctions. This is, it's overexposed, this moon right here, but this is the moon, conjunction of the moon, Venus and Jupiter, and this is actually being viewed, I think this was being viewed from Mauna Kea in Hawaii. Conjunctions with the sun have particular names. The inner planets have inferior and superior conjunctions. When a planet travels to the other side of the sun from us, it's called a superior conjunction. When it travels in between us and the sun, it's called an inferior conjunction. The outer planets, we just call those conjunctions. So sometimes you'll hear those terms, but for this course, we're not going to look for that much detail, but just in case you do hear that. Again, inferior conjunction between us and the sun, superior conjunction going on the other side of the sun. All right, let's talk about Venus. In the nighttime sky, at the beginning of 2020, Venus appears immediately after sunset. And Venus is easiest to see when it is, right between, being at, I would say, about 120 degree angle between us and the sun, and probably about a 45 degree angle between us and the sun. If it's closer to its inferior conjunction, it's lost in the sunlight. If it's close to its superior conjunction, it's lost in the sunlight also. Its greatest elongation, its furthest position from the sun in the sky is known as greatest elongation. Its greatest brilliance happens right when it's about 30 degrees from inferior conjunction. Through the telescope, we see it as similar to the phases of the moon, and this is what Galileo saw. Saw a crescent when it's approaching inferior conjunction. It looks more full as it's going to superior conjunction. And one of the coolest things that happen, unfortunately, I will not be alive during the next time this happens, is something known as a transit of Venus. I was able to actually capture this when this happened. And when Venus makes its inferior conjunction, normally it's not aligned with the sun. So it won't pass directly between us and the sun. It's either a little bit below or a little bit above. But in 2004 and 2012, it passed in front of the sun, and we saw what's called a transit. Venus went across the sun. This is the 2004 transit. I didn't take this one. This photo I took. This photo somebody else took, but I thought it was cool. It had a, shore vibe going here with the lighthouse and the flag. And you can see Venus right there going across the sun. Here's again another photo of the 2004 transit of Venus. I took this from my house. It happened, I'm trying to think, it happened during the summertime, so I think we were in between sessions. The 2012 transit of Venus was also visible from our location, also during the summertime. This happened in 2006, and here's some of the pictures I took of that particular transit. This I was lucky that I was able to get it because we were dealing with a cloudy day. You can see some sunspots here too. And because it was cloudy out, I was having to take pictures every time I went through a clear spot. For our purposes, the next transit I don't think happens for a few hundred years. So, sorry folks, should have taken this course earlier. I could have warned you about the transit, but really sort of a special event. Now, Venus in 2020 appears, immediately after sunset. Again, it's a big, bright, white object in the sky. It'll be there for a few months at the beginning of the year, but eventually it will pass us in orbit, and this will happen during the summertime. So if you get a chance to see Venus. On March 24th, Venus will be the furthest east from the sun. It will be the highest it will ever be in the sky after sunset. And on April 28th, it's actually starting to sink low into the glow of the sun. It will actually be at its brightest. So please catch Venus early in the year. This is a little bit of a complicated chart. I have this on the PowerPoint presentation. I won't spend too much time here, but you can see at the beginning of the year, Venus starts heading further and further away from the glow of the sun. It'll make a few different conjunctions. It'll make a conjunction with the Pleiades on April 3rd. It'll make a conjunction with Aldebaran, a fairly bright star, on the 20th. Its greatest elongation happens, trace this down, March 25th. And again, its greatest brilliance, where it's the brightest, it's getting very close to us, is on April 29th. Now you'll notice that Venus slowly creeps up into the sky higher and higher, then it drops like a rock. That's because as it passes us into our orbits close to us, so its orbital velocity in overtaking us makes it move very rapidly in the sky, and it fades into the glow of the sunset, and will be completely gone by June. Inferior conjunction, it passes between us and the sun on June 3rd, and this will not be visible unless you have a telescope and you really know what you're doing. I wouldn't try to do this because looking near the sunlight, you might accidentally damage your vision. But in any case, on June 3rd, makes a conjunction, and then it will appear in the morning sky. You have to get up before sunrise to see it as it moves to the morning sky. And just like it rapidly fell into the glow of the sunset, it will rapidly rise above the glow of the sunrise and reach greatest elongation. I'm tracing this back down, August 12th, and make a few more conjunctions. So Venus, one of the easiest planets to see in the nighttime sky, very recognizable because it appears after sunset at the beginning of the year. Going into the morning sky, it appears right before sunrise. It's that bright object in the west in the evening with that bright object in the morning to the east. Going from easiest to hardest. Mercury, most difficult to see in the sky because it never gets very far from the sun in terms of its position. It orbits 1/3 the radius of our own orbit. It takes only 88 days to go through one orbit. So it's really, really hard to see. In this photo, you actually took a picture of Venus, and Mercury is really close to the position of the sun here. If you're going to see Mercury, there are only a few minutes, really, that it is visible. It's maybe visible for half an hour at best, under best conditions. And the best conditions are during greatest elongation. If you want to try to catch Mercury, you should do so in the evening on February 10th, okay? The evening's always easiest to do this. If you do get up early, here are the morning greatest elongations, but around February 10th, it's going to be as far from the sun in the sky as possible. This is not a great one. The June 4th one's a little bit better, at 23.6 degrees. Your best chance of seeing it in the evening is really October 1st. But the weather has to be perfect. You got to know where you're looking. It's not impressive. All right? So I'm going to stop there, talking about the inner planets. Again, Venus, great opportunity for you to see a planet. If you've never seen a planet, okay, in the nighttime sky, see Venus at the beginning of the year.